Oh, I only need one set of glasses. So, anyone there? This is your Sensei Al Bob. I've been offline for a few days because I was back at the school and we had a really massive ice storm on the 14th of November. You know, first time I think ever we've had. It took out a lot of the valley's electric, and there were trees all over the place. It was like a war zone: crash, 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 boom, boom. Like every 10 minutes, every 10 seconds, a gigantic tree was falling down. And part of that was because up there, John has shown you what's his name, A Twitchy. The beauty of the hill. Well, all those trees are dead. Now, just because they have leaves doesn't mean those trees are, you know, vibrant. The energetics of that whole hill is waned, even though it is a major spiritual ley line, because no one except me has been, keeping up the prayer and the vigil and the ceremony. Caves are a really sacred place, and up there is a real sacred cave. And, when the guy who's paying the taxes goes, oh, it's all about me, my life, it's all about me, me. That spirit doesn't like to hear that. It wants to hear us, one love, co-creation. So, anyway, so I kind of got iced in, and my neighbor who's like the best neighbor, Tim, he came and he had first moved into the school, and Judd couldn't stand him because he was, just so right on. And he left. The reason why we have really great, Wi-Fi is because this guy, that was his business, and we have better Wi-Fi than Cox Cable in the valley because that's his business. He installs, microwave links and controls of, he has an internet on the backbone of the big pipe, not the server people like Verizon and Cox and guys like that. So we have the best. Yeah. So power went out, no internet for at least 3 days. And my neighbor cut me out yesterday, and after being somewhat cabin fever, and it was cold. I mean, we had no heat, had the wood stove, and that was okay, and it kept at least me not freezing to death. But anyway, so later today or tomorrow, the juice should be online. But I'm staying at a friend's house. May even stay there till Monday, but probably I'll try at least go up and see what's going on, see if everything's working. I'll have food and the window open for the cats. Hopefully they're still hanging out there. But they were out there in the wild and crazy war zone of the falling trees. And I thought for at least a day they were gone. But then I heard them bouncing around upstairs, and somebody ate the cat food. I wasn't. So, and I didn't see any possums or raccoons or anything like that. So anyway, I think all's still good. And what's his name's coming back, and he wants to do YouTubes together, but I'm not doing the same thing. It's got to. I really wanted to serve, like this channel serves all our relations. Hey, Marshall, and I want because John is this channel, and if he will let me help him access, just like last night, I tried from my rundown place I was staying in. They kind of had Wi-Fi, and if you look at it, it's I look like, a pointal. I look like pointillism, but in squares. It's like anyway, like a 19th century impressionist painting of Sensei Al Bob. And my voice sounded like I was AI. Maybe that was AI trying to absorb me. I'm not quite sure. And I did a somewhat of a guided meditation up to where I had you going over your id. I had gotten you to meditate, to breathe, to illuminate yourself with the prana and ground yourself with the chi, and illuminate your imaginary mirror. We have your dreams, we have REM sleep, and take that light into your subconscious and see that it's a library, and introduce you to your librarian and your animal totem and your guardian angel. Now, if you go back to that and it still somewhat works, that would be a pretty good enough, guided meditation to get you into it. And then you could bounce around at your, and within poke around. I get you over through the first door, and at the top of your id, and that's when the whole thing crashed, and I couldn't get back onto the Wi-Fi because it was like 1/10 of a bar of Wi-Fi. But here I am in the library, 6 minutes and 10 seconds, and there's 7 of you, and what do you want to chat about? So I tried to give you a guided meditation last night that you could go back. Now there is a really full-fledged, connected guided meditation, about 20, live chats back somewhere end of August, beginning of September. And I think it's, this will set you free or something to that matter. So you can go to that one and just play it and lie down or sit down and just play it. Don't look at it, just play it. And that's a really good guided meditation. The one I did last night it'll get you to a certain place where you can, and the whole thing is about you guys practicing this, you guys getting comfortable with this process, allowing you to go into state. Now, I didn't invent this. I just kind of branded it, repackaged it in a way that the audience could really use it. I mean, I used to, when I worked in the corporate state, I used to use this to the high flyers, teach them how to meditate. I could get any group of folk into state. Now, whether they practiced or not, that was up to them. But just showing them how it worked, and they'd, oh, well, I saw my past lives. I saw what I was when I met my librarian and my animal totem and my guardian. Oh, it changed my life. And then I'd go back a year later and said, so by show of hands, out of you 300, how many have been practicing this? And maybe 2 would put their hand up. And I go, okay, let's try it again. Anyway, but they videotaped me every time I would do this, so they kind of had it on their server. So, whenever they needed to see Sensei Al, I should have wrote it in the contract every time you play this, I get residuals. But no, yes, I'm always thinking about, making folk happy. What makes me happy is making others happy. Nice coffee. Yummy. Anyway, so here I am at the library. See, it's a really nice library. It really is. It's the Taj Mahal of libraries. So let's see what you guys are talking about. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to see you're okay. Yep, I'm still alive. 3 days without electricity and a little nippy, but and the thing was I couldn't get out. The trees had fallen across our driveway is like 2 miles long. In these meditations, I've heard stories, people meetings, these entities with black and white stones. They judge you. Seems odd. No, not in these guys. This is totally your Akashic record. You're seeing you. And the only person who judges you is you, even when you die and you go through the replay of your life. The only person judging you is you. Yes, you get to see all the things you did. You get to feel all the things you did to other people. But they don't judge you unless the dynamic is for you to see and sense the judgment of that. And the thing about it is, so you're in the circle and all these people who you totally either did good things to or bad things, just like Donald Duck, good angel, bad angel. you see it and you feel it, and then if you are hearing the judgment of those people on you, what that really is your subconscious mind reeling it out in front of you, so you could really get the angst of the moment. So nobody judges you but you, because the only reality is love's unconditional, totally forgiving, co-creative love. All the rest, all the judgment, all the evil, all the darkness, darkness is nothing but love's shadow. That's all it is. In the beginning, all things were dark, meaning love was in the shadows. And then the word said, and, love's word said, let there be light. Because if, whenever I do any work, like electric work or medical work or studying, scholarly work, I make sure that whatever I'm working on, art, a meal, sewing, anything that I do, I illuminate. I really put it, that's one of the things electricians do. They light things up. So that's kind of why I was an electrician first. I light things up energetically and illumin-wise. So I bring that illumination to all things. Why do you guys like these stories? I'm lighting it up, illuminating. You're getting to see things within the context of your own spirit. That's why I kind of resonate, because it's really you guys who are resonating. I'm just the tuning fork. I am that little pebble into the pond of the great link, and those little waves go out from me out to you, in this essence of unconditional co-creative love. Let's see. Can we discuss how you became a shaman anthropologist? Sure we can. In the Egyptian terms, light is speaking words out of darkness. Yep. Your mind, exactly. But you have to realize the subconscious is simply a library. It's not your mind. And the bridge, when you go through that doorway in your library, you go over a bridge into your superconscious mind. And that bridge is your id. And your superconscious mind is your consciousness in the flow, in the illumination of love's unconditional love and co-creation. So when you go to your superconscious mind, it's your sanctuary of your own choosing, and you are there. When your foot hits the ground off of the bridge of your id onto the superconscious mind, you'll start weeping, because the sense of joy and forgiveness is like nothing you've ever felt. And that's what keeps me meditating, lots, 15, 20 times a day, because whenever I want to know something, bingo, I go into state, look in my Akashic record. When I want to deal with an issue, I take the angst, the anxiety, and put it in my Akashic record, close the book, get up, walk over my id into my superconscious mind, and step into God again. Love's unconditional love. God, Lord, none of these, the best is Father, but it's gender specific, and love is not gender specific. So, how did I become a shaman anthropologist? Well, first off, we're all born to be what we're supposed to be. We all come here, we make a little contract. If you go to my xratted.blogspot.com, you will read, I got about 6 or 7 short stories that make up 3/4 of that novel. And they're cuts, right? And there's cut 1, 2, 3, and 4. And basically how it appears on that blog spot is not in orders like what the last person who looked at it, And so in there, I have a story about my consciousness being in Lost Vegas, which is, there is no heaven, there's Lost Vegas, which is Vegas where everyone would want to be, right? Everything you want is there. It's like the cartoon cutout of what, the comic book Bible says heaven is. And God isn't God, in love when it's incarnate, so we can talk to it and relate to it as looking like Jesus looked, like Vishnu looked, like Buddha looked, transcendental. Love's name in Las Vegas is Bob. And that's what we all strive to be, is Bob, our highest self, right? So I was in that story. It kind of really goes in the whole ball of wax, right? And really gives a nice, you know, construct of what it is to be a shaman anthropologist. But, how I kind of literally became that is that for a good 20, 30 years, once I left New York City, I really became a serious scholar. I mean, a friend of mine, or a cohort or associate, who was part of the hidden hand, but see, the hidden hand is comes in so many flavors, right? And Dwight Eisenhower, he was pissed off that all the power, he was, the unconditional leader of the free world fighting the Nazis, right? And then he kind of had this nice little grace period between, retiring from being the highest you could get in the military to, at least the Army, to, running for office and being president, right? And he got to be president, and he knew what was going on. I mean, he knew all about the animal. He knew all the secrets. But Truman had set up Majestic 12 to privatize this information, to put it in the corporate hands. And so he gave a speech when he was leaving, and it was a double-edged sword, meaning A, he wanted to tell the folk and history, watch out for the military-industrial complex. Well, he was like one of the head cheeses of that, started it, did it, was it, right? And so he was pissed off that he wasn't read into what was going on, and that he was on the outside. He was the first real president on the outside. But he knew enough to know that, he didn't need to be read in. He was already read in. So he was pissed off about that. So he did two things. A, showed his being pissed off about being made irrelevant. And B, he knew that all he was going to do for the rest of his life is to go to the golf course and have, a good old time and, sign autographs, But he wanted to be able to say and show when he showed up at the pearly gates, listen, I did my best. I even told these morons about what was going on, right? He left out two very important things. He should have said military, industrial, banking, legislative, scholastic, industrial complex. Meaning everything is corporate. All of those things. Right? It should have been the corporate, military, industrial, banking, scholastic enterprise. So, because by that time it had already gone off book, everything was you had to be read in or it didn't exist. It was beyond black. It was beyond deep state. To the point that, the MK gang and the Nazis and Hail Hydra and the corporate state who'd always been in power, since the Council of Nicaea. That's how long it goes back. So those guys, pretty much all of my life, I mean, I've told you plenty of stories about my childhood and, being in a seminary and, my rabbi landlord wanting me to be a rabbi and putting me into a Lubavitcher. And, so I was a scholar my whole life, from Mrs. Girling kindergarten class. And that's why that nun nearly killed me in the Catholic Church, in that Catholic school. And that's why my cardinal, you know, godfather, said, oh, well, let's just keep him on the outside. And every so often they would try and bring me in and read me, and I would be that Uziel, my grandma called me. I'd be the artist in the first person. I'd be the indigenous person, right? So I was that from birth. I didn't have to be. I was like, when you are the artist in the first person, your tribe is loves unconditional love in the first person in co-creation. You don't need your parents, your family, your anybody, and everyone you come in contact with is you are being with them to express love's unconditional love and forgiveness. Why do you think people go, why are you with John? Blah 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 blah. Well, because it's a great exercise for me to express my unconditional forgiveness and love. All right. I mean, more than the average. I mean that every day in every way with everybody I come in contact with. Like today, I had errands to do. I was in the stores, and I went to my doctor to get my medicine. They open on Saturdays. I love these guys. And everyone I touched, I left better than I found them. And they would that's why, I'm, living on $400 a month, and living well, because I am the shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. So, first and foremost, I was the alchemist. I was the dealing with the currents of life, right? I was dealing with the prana and chi from birth, right? And then, I kept playing with electricity my whole life. At 9, I became an electrician. I worked for Mike Stoll and his father, Grandpa Stoll. And Grandpa Stoll had, was Nikola Tesla's major, guy who made, Tesla would go into state, which I'm trying to teach you guys to do. He would see in his Akashic record, alternating current, X-ray, radio, all these things. He would design it. He would make the blueprint of it. He would build it in state on his little laboratory in his, sanctuary of his own choosing, his superconscious mind, where love co-created with him. All the stuff he invented, he co-created with love, right? So I got that 411, that starting at 9, right? When I was 17, I moved into Tesla's laboratory on, Mohawk Electric on Hudson and Duane, right? Where Tesla built that building to be a harmonic tuning fork to that's kind of where he built his apparatus to talk to all the knowledge of the spheres, right? So I was living in that space for a year. Those spheres were talking to me. So I've had this, I keep saying, if I have any real talent, it is to be in the right place at the right time and go for it. And that's what I'm doing with you guys. I'm in the right place in the right time talking to you, and, keep dropping those pebbles into the great Lynx pond and sending you the vibratory information. Okay, so let's go back a bit. Egyptian terms, life is, speaking the word, it's relevant that Genesis 1 is about the light and the dark, but I was just talking to some holy rollers down below who didn't even know their friggin' Bible. What is the first thing in the Bible? It's not Genesis. What's the first thing in the Bible? Come on, any of you bibliotechs out there know this? And my favorite part of the Bible is Job. Because Job, why it comes first, is that, there's, it really gives the 411 of the relationship between Satan and God in the Bible. And they're buddies. They're hanging out, Did you ever, I put, one of the things that got me into college was I produced in my high school with my loving great professor who taught me Latin, but also Old English, so I could read Chaucer and Shakespeare and truly get it. She, you know, you know, taught me the love of logos, the word, right? That's you go find the etymology of logos, right? Anyway, so the deal is, I've been this scholar since birth, right? And I've had all these amazing teachers picking me up, going, "Oh, look at this guy." I mean, they could say, here's a student," because what makes a good sensei? It's not the sensei, it's the students, right? So I had all these amazing teachers. Oh, wow. I mean, even if I wasn't signed up to go to that school or to be there, or I just stumbled into there, they would go, now this is a guy who I can have as a student. I'll be enjoying his presence. I saw a TED Talk, and a speaker explained the brain as a library. Yes, it's just a hard drive, and your focus as being you, consciousness. Well, whatever that is, I'd have to hear that TED Talks. But the person's right about your brain being just a hard drive. Your heart is the CPU. I need to find the link. It was cool. You know, guys, if you have a TED Talk, yeah, twitchy. So you guys need to do a little bit of homework. You know, I do every time I talk to you guys, you know. I make a little list of things I want to talk about. I go look up what would be relevant and important for you to go look at, you know, what people to read, stuff like that, right? You need to do the same thing. So, man, if you could just have your links ready and lay them down on the chat, that would be amazing. Just think what that'd do for everybody in the chat, right? It would be again, what makes you happy? Helping and making everyone in this chat happy, right? Have you ever had work craft classes while dreaming? Sure, all the time. And that's, again, the whole thing of being able to go into state. And that practice, when you go to sleep and when you wake up, is the time you take some time to go into state and go into your library, and then go into your superconscious mind, because there's this thing called a gazebo in your superconscious mind. When you go up on the steps and go onto that stage, you can ask any question, you can do anything you want, and the person or thing or whatever you need to understand, it'll be right there. And it'll be in a form that you don't need your animal totem, right? Your animal totem is the griot within your library. It's turning into Dirty Dozen. Yes, exactly. Dun 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 dun. Let's see. Alchemy. Alchemy is turning base metals into gold, and the base metal is your ugly bag of water. Because that's what we are. We are this bag of water, 98% water. All these trace elements, those are the base metals, base elements, and the goal is your ascension of your conscious self, to bring it as high as, where you become an ascended master, and you keep, so you don't evolve. Evolution is part of the illusion of, evolution. You should, etymology is great. Go look at the roots of evolution and etymology. They're almost the same. So, when, what's his name, said we came from monkeys, this guy was so Christian, it was ridiculous. It took him 30 years. He figured it out when he was in his 30s. He waited till he was pushing 60 to publish because he didn't want to. He knew there was too many holes in his, it wasn't objective, it was subjective. So, but other people were getting there, and he wanted the credit, so he published. So that's why we know Darwin's rather than the other three guys who were just behind him. Meaning, if he hadn't published, one of those morons would have gotten the credit. So that's why he published. He wanted the credit. He wanted to go down in history. And he wanted this conversation, that we're having here. So, we don't evolve, we ascend. And that's why we experience replication through, being reincarnated. Because whatever business on the karmic wheel we don't deal with, we spin up in the dharmic wheel and we get spat out again, And that's, why I've died 6 times and come back, because, the dharmic wheel said, we want you a little higher. When you finally come home, we want you ascended. We don't want you to come back as a worm. We want you to keep going. And that's kind of what happens. If you ever give up, like I keep saying, if you don't give up, you should have heard my mom's, by the third, all of us kids would get under the table because she was like a tornado. Anyway, so the bottom line is you ascend, you don't evolve. So, and if you die in this life, if you die and it takes, it's okay, because you, like I said in that little last night's, painting, that your life is like on tracks. And then you hit the switch and you kind of go this way or this way. And when you do that, it kind of, half of you is like going this way and the other half is kind of going this way. And that is the experience of deja vu. You're in 2 places at once. Ooh, what's that? And so the bottom line is we are here to turn our base element into goals, into our ascended consciousness. So that's why we're here. So I've spent, at least 60 years on the path of, being a scholar and becoming the griot shaman that I am. That's known as Sensei Owl Bob, right? So Sensei, what's that word? Japanese word for teacher. Owl, as a totem. What is the owl? Man, it is. You guys should go. I will just tell you. Why did Miss Rollins use owls to deliver the mail? Right? Why? Because the owl is the symbol of knowledge, delivering knowledge. And what did those what owls normally do? They delivered you the letter, and it either drop the letter in your lap and then shit on your head and it kept flying, or would land and bite you or claw you, because owls are the most ravenous, vengeful, of any bird of prey. The one you don't want coming after you is an owl, right? So I am Sensei Owl, and Bob, God. I'm not quite God, because that's a demon. But if you go to my xratted.blogspot.com and read the story of me as a Angle, not angel, but Angle. What are Angles? They were a Germanic tribe in Europe that pretty much the Romans, the Angles became the Picts, which became the Druids, which became the Celts, which always the guys who the powers that shouldn't be always couldn't control. Always got upset. Hey, here's my buddy. Come on, sit down, join the conversation. Okay. That's wave to the crowd. Well, they try their best. Really? Why? Graham's, I like Graham. Right. Well, again, I think TED Talks are kind of like WikiLeaks. a cross between Wikipedia and WikiLeaks. I mean, there's a lot of information there, but there's people who have agendas that either cut things out or cut things off, or all the above. But again, that's only taking place here in the illusionary world. And again, whatever information you get, I keep telling you guys, don't believe me. Check it out for yourself. I'm basically telling you these stories because I'm shamanically putting those little pebbles in the pond, and the vibrations are kind of sloshing over you guys, and it's staying in your superconscious mind. And in your dream time, that's why this thing is called Dreamy Dream Land. Because I'm putting you into the dreamland. Now, dream times is when you just get stuck in there in your where you have REM sleep, in your imaginary mirror. The thing is to take that illumination and go into your subconscious mind, not where the scary monsters are. It's just singularly a library, just like this place is a library. That's why I'm talking to you from here. They got great Wi-Fi here. And until I get back on the mountain, I won't be able. I tried from that grimy place I was last night, which I'm going to stay in because it's very well heated, and it has a gazillion cable TV channels, and so I don't watch TV at all. But it's nice to get a jolt of it, so I can get a peek at what's going on, and so in the next 40 days, I keep saying, all of these attenuated patterns are coming together. And the only way we can get around this and not be taken away by it is meaning the dollar's going to fall. It's already falling. You think Donald did all this, really, having a trade war? Think it was his own idea? No, Donald's just a marionette. His wife can get him to, fire people and change the political structure of our country. She's not even American. She the folk on the other side of the Texas border more Americans than this girl. Come on. She's his handler. You should go look at Woodrow Wilson and see how his first wife, they murdered, and then this guy got addicted to sex with his second wife. And she brought in Colonel House, who wasn't even a colonel in the military. He was a Southern boy, and he just, was a banker boy with a lot of power, a lot of juice, and he was part of that hidden hand agenda. And a governor had given him the honorary title of some southern state, Mississippi, I think. He's the colonel. He wasn't in the U.S. military, not at all. But he was a servant of the Council on Foreign Relations and, the hidden hand, the folks that Prescott Bush was part of, and that the, Cheneys were part of, and that all of those rich banking families, which the Morgans and Rothschilds are just the poster boys of, and the, which, Mr. Rockefeller facilitated the dollar becoming the petrodollar. And I would say by the end of 2019, our dollar will no longer be the petrodollar. And there will be an OPEC little revolt, and oil will go to $200 a barrel, and interest rates will go up to 60%. And anybody who owns anything on credit, that's why the universe took me out of that in 2015. I lost everything, so I have nothing to lose. I'm ahead of the game. Yes, they make zero noise. Owls are the quietest birds there are, and you're lucky you still have your nose and your eyes if an owl flew up to your face. He or she was just trying to wake you up. Yep. That's like the distance, so it's from the far out, which is really dead on. Yep. I mean, pretty much from my little, I told you that story where I was in the airplane flying from Hawaii to Sydney, and I was somewhere between Hawaii, right at the point where the northern hemisphere becomes the southern, and I flushed the toilet, and the swirl was going clockwise, and then it slowed down and went the other way, and in that swirl, it's like the time tunnel. I saw the Aborigines waiting for me. I saw the tribe in Brazil waiting for me. I saw the fall of the World Trade Towers going down. I saw the wars, the never-ending wars, from that point on till 2035. I mean, this whole going on with war thing is going to be going on till then, unless we do something about it. Meaning, time and reality is very valuable. It's water. We are water. I'm the guy throwing the pebble in the great link of time and space, and that's what makes me the shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. So always, I started out as the alchemist, right? Shamanic was once I started hanging out with indigenous people and realizing we were all our relations. And that started out with Grandfather David in New Mexico. He was the head elder of the Hopi prophecy. He was keeper of the prophecy, waiting for the white buffalo to show up. And he gave me all the shamanic trainings of a wisdom keeper. And instead of taking 30 years, he knew he only had about 180 days. So, man, he put me through boot camp, right? But it was, one of the best things I ever experienced, right? My sensei, my Japanese Shinto priest teacher, before I headed off, I got the Buddhist Shinto tradition, tattooed my DNA. And before that, I had the Catholic Church, through a bishop, a cardinal, and Thomas Merton, and the 9, what's the name of that? It'll pop into my mind. They weren't, they were the nice Catholic priests. They didn't wear the collar. They weren't cruel and mean. It'll pop into my mind. I spent a year with her, and Mrs. Gerling, 3 years with her, and she was like, Glenda the Good Witch, and Sophia Loren, and Marilyn Monroe, and who's the woman who got the Nobel Prize for discovering radium? This is Madame Curie and Madame Olga Kluber, all rolled up into one. Let's see, we jumped here. Have you spent any time on Rasputin? Sure. I mean, I've been looking at the Russian Orthodox Church. Now there's, if you want to study the Bible, go into the Russian Orthodox Church, because they are Orthodox. I mean, they are, they are so far deeper than King James that, they're the guys, and they are alchemists. They are that, and they are trying to change the ugly bag of water into, the gold of our higher consciousness. Now, they've been involved in politics and money at all, but the way they look at Christianity, the teachings of Christ, is far superior than anything the Western Church has. Rome has always been a business, and their whole thing is they're like Nazis, meaning they will do anything to further the direction in which they want to take humanity. and that is, wiping out. Their whole, Agenda 21 came from the Catholic Church. Let's see. Yes, it was, being up on top of a mountain, not being able to get off, and having no heat, no electricity, no water. Yeah, well, it's a good test. And it was only 3 days. My neighbor came, cut me out, and I came downtown and stayed with some folks. Yes, it's a funky place where I'm at, but it's got heat, electricity, the toilet that works. A teeny a bit, like at 4 in the morning, I stuck up that meditation because nobody else was on the Wi-Fi. Let's see, last round. Do you know about let's see, the sacred science? Yeah, the sacred science. Studied under Asher. Yes, yep. Very Egyptian, very Sumerian. And it has many root races, right? Roots from where it comes from. And it has, once it was congealed into the Sumerian culture at all, there were still many orthodoxies. And, once it broke up into Babylon, Egypt, Mesopotamia, it went in different directions and were used in different ways. So, and always in the wrong reason, power and anybody who wants power is someone who's bound to lose. Yes, hummingbirds. So, when Inga and George built the school in Solonovich, it was, Inga probably understood, but George is just an egocentric guy, but he had his higher self too. And they built it right on top of this gigantic rock, which was a tuning fork for the attenuator of the hill. And they built it, this, 7,000 square foot building to be their school. Well, they didn't realize how harmonically high it was. So unless, they were going to teach the art of the spheres, all they were going to get out of their students was confusion. So that's why it never quite worked as a school. And even when I tried to teach that, I didn't have the right students. That I had friends of mine who I had been in mystery schools with, and they all had schools, and they kind of sent me students who, they knew that I was this guy who always picked up stray dogs and healed people. And, so they didn't, none of their students that they sent my way were the really good ones, right? And so they thought, oh, well, Al's a lot stronger, a lot more able as a sensei than I am. So I had the guys who were ready to be the students. And I went to their schools, even that they didn't do too good of a job. And that's why they would invite me over to do my little thing every now and then. And that's why I always had a nice place to visit. Well, all of these folk have not disappeared, but, retired in a lot more hard landing than me. And I'm a homeless guy. So anyway, George and Inga build the school, and they basically, it's a bird sanctuary. And they have all these berries and all these trees and all these flowering things that every bird loved. And Inga loved it because she loved birds. Inga Solonovich still has a bird book that's published because she wrote it in the mid-20s and did paintings of the birds. And her paintings are so sublime, they're better than any photograph. And in those days, they didn't have film that was fast enough to catch a bird. But she painted and drew these birds. Like, really amazing. Go Inga Solonovich bird book, I'm sure you'll find it. Anyway, so the school was more a bird sanctuary than an art school. And so when I bought it from Inga, I kind of doubled down. There were all of these berries and vines that brought, there's a vine that has flowers called, it's a bell, makes an orange flower that looks like a bell. And hummingbirds love it. So, and because of all the flowering plants and flowering berries there. I mean, the whole hill around the school was covered with stuff. And all I had to do is just like my site in the deep green, all I had to do was walk outside and pick the berries and add some yogurt to it, and bingo, I had breakfast. Well, when John bought the school, he cut and killed all of those plants because I let the whole school be covered in these vines. So I didn't even have to walk. I just had to walk out on the patio and pick the berries. I didn't have to walk down in the brush and pick them. But he cut them off down at the ground level and then poured, like ancient orange on them and killed everything. So there are no more birds, no more insects up there, no more frogs, no more turtles. I mean, it used to be just an opera of nature every night. And I would sleep out on the patio. I had this roll-out bed, and I'd roll it out, and I'd look at the stars, and I would just be sung to sleep by all these animals. And I'd wake up with it was like something out of Disney. All these animals were hanging on the perch because I fed them, and the birds were up in the trees singing, and there was no singing birds left. Zero. Zilch. Zip. The only birds that are still there are the owls. It's the only one because I keep coming back. So they're waiting for me. And there's a big owl there, one that's 4 foot tall. Not wingspan, but from claws to the top of it, it's 4 foot tall. And its wingspan is like 16 to 20 feet. I mean, big owl. And that is a shamanic owl. And it's still up there. People who drive up the road at night, it loves to, there's a number of perches where it hangs over the road, and he sees the car coming up, and he knows just where, or she knows just where, to just drop out of the tree. Just poof, the wings go out, and it comes soaring down, and just when the car is coming around this curve, it comes right into the headlights and soars up, and its wings are wider than the car, and its body is half the length of the car. And if people have not seen it before, they are scared. A lot of people drive off the road, and it's right where a cliff is. So so it's really there to look for an offering. And I've told it to stop doing that, so it stops getting people, but it still likes to scare the shit out of people. Yep. And the hummingbirds, I would have, Inga would come up for breakfast from the berries, and I'd make her pancakes, and we'd eat yogurt that she would make or find or get from Mrs. The cow lady down below. And those first 6 years were sublime, before Inga really got sick, and I really started working for the Desperate Lawyers. And in the winter, I would leave. And the first 6 years, it's not that I stayed there all the time, but I stayed there a lot. But once I started working for the corporate state and the powers that shouldn't be, and the Desperate Lawyers, I would be there a week or two in the spring, a week or two in the summer, a week or two in the fall. And the same thing with my deep green. I'd stay there for a week or two, and not even a long weekend here and there in the spring, here and there in the summer, here and there in the fall. And then just around the 10th of December, I would head south, and I would stop in Georgia and visit my friends in Jekyll Island. I had a friend who had a nice motel there, really right on the beach, really beautiful, really great suites. And in that period before Christmas, nobody was there. People didn't really start showing up. They'd show up there New Year's-ish, and then towards the third week of January, that's when the season started. And that's when those suites were like $300 a night. When I was there and there was nobody there, and then my buddy would let me stay there for $25 to $50, and it had kitchen and a jacuzzi and a really nice big bath with with a great shower that many people could get into, and these beautiful, gigantic beds, and a fireplace. I mean, real and a patio that looked out over the ocean, so I could just walk, and I'd be like one story up, and I'd be looking over these mossy old oaks. And or I could go down, and they had a beautiful heated swimming pool that was always 80 degrees. And even on a hot day, that still is nice. Then they had a jacuzzi that was about 106. And, if you were there in December and you had a cold night, ooh, and you'd be there, oh, it was nothing like it, you know. Anyway, and they have the Jekyll Island Hotel, and that's where they had these little bungalows which were like big estates, like for the Rockefellers and the Astors, and that's where the Central Bank was started, and that's where Poppy Bush, Prescott Bush, brought on to the slavery of you know you know what do they call it, taxes of your work. So I would stop there, and I would stay there from the 10th until the 5th of January, and then I would head down, and I'd visit a friend of mine in Daytona, and then I would go further down, and I would stay with my folks who were in Stewart. I had a lot of friends in Stewart I could stay with, and I had a friend who had a great little shabby motel on Jensen Beach, right down the road from the Turkey Point reactor. And again, I'd be there at a time where the Canadians hadn't. I mean, this was a shabby. It was really a whorehouse, right? And his father was an accountant, and his father got it from, some account of a madam. And then when he died, and he was like the accountant to the mob, and mostly prostitutes and stuff like that. And when they would die, he had a string of these motels on the East Coast, from about Daytona down to Miami. And so I had all these really interesting friends of all different types. I had friends in, it was the black town that was the hub of the Chitlin Circle, and I have a, a YouTube up there, and it was with my friend who was a real Rasta, I mean, Jamaican, total Rasta, had a Rasta band. He had a couple of houses in, its name, but it was a really poverty-stricken black, but not just black, but poor people neck of the woods north of Jensen Beach. And, it'll pop into my mind. Let's see. Yeah. We are sphere. Yep. Yeah. Yep. We are the trace, the bags of water of trace elements. Blue Star. And indeed, Jamie. Most of what I know about Egypt comes from Graham Hancock, which is not a bad. Now, all these guys who have their opinion, not a bad place to start, because they really do have some very informed information that you can start from and go to. And you need to take that information into your Akashic record. That's why I'm trying to teach you guys how to go on the Akashic record, to see what's going on, because you don't use this, you use this. This is the real CPU, right? When you breathe, right, you force the conscious mind onto because to breathe 20 seconds more than, you normally breathe in your autonomic nervous system, causes you to shut down the little squirrel in your head, right? That's 20 seconds, not even 10. Keep going. Keep going. Don't do that. So you're bringing the prana, the chi, through your breath, through your lungs. Your heart pumps the blood through your lungs. Those little iola put the prana into your blood and ground the mitochondria out to Mother Earth. And that's what energizes, that's what gives you life. It's not your body. Your body is just a bag of water with trace elements. And the alchemy, the true alchemy, is turning your ugly bag of water into the ascended consciousness that is off somewhere, right? This is just, your body is just an avatar, right? So, if you can practice breathing 20% more and energizing your body with the prana and chi, and I have two guided meditations. One back about 20 or so where it says this will set you free. That's a good one. I mean, I did it at the school. Good Wi-Fi. It's good and clear. You can hear me. I don't look like a enlightened painting. I look like me, your Sensei Alban. The one I did last night, that is that in itself is a alchemical ceremony, because that's what happened. All the combined things, and being all of the stuff. I had just gotten away. I went into my friend's crappy place and stayed there, and and gave you that little. That was really just the first half, from the very beginning to you just going over your id, your bridge between your subconscious and your superconscious mind, and you're looking down, and then it went out. Just, and I tried to get back, couldn't, so I just turned it off and went to sleep. I woke up in the morning and it was up there. Most of what I know, yeah. So, like I said, all these guys are great. You gotta go further than that. You can't believe in anything that anyone says, and that's including me. You have to go into your Akashic record. Now, come on, guys. You can do it. I have faith in your ability, your commitment. And, if you want, when I get back up to the school and if everything's working, we can do a live chat. But see, you shouldn't be chatting while you're trying to go into state. So, and all you get, it just takes 1 week of practice doing it every night and every morning, and bingo, you'll be able to do it anytime you want for the rest of your existence. Of course, anyone who's ever put a hammer to nail knows that the pyramids and all those sacred sites around the planet, they're all built on the same sacred geometry. If you believe in the history that's told to you by scholastics, how could the people in Central and South America build the same thing that they were building in Egypt, and the mound builders were building the same thing in the plains of I hate calling it North America. We have to find a new name for all of these places that are more understanding of where all our relations come from. Could be energy. And the Pleiades, of course, it's all these guys are talking about the folks, came from outer space. Of course we did. I mean, you look at the aliens who are on this planet is Homo sapiens sapien. There were other homos before us, and they were animals of this planet. They were all our relations. Then someone took that species and twisted its DNA into a species that could make a good, angry, sexy slave. That's what we are. We are good, angry, sexy slaves. And it isn't until we look for happiness by making others happy, by living our life joyfully, by enjoying everything we do. It's like the Bible thumpers out front. They were out in the cold and they were almost cursing the fact they were out there. They weren't in joy. They were bouncing around like jumping beans. And I sat and talked to them about the Bible. And, they didn't even have the book with them. It was online. And when I described the things I was talking about, they went to King James, and I said, well, why don't you look at the Greek Orthodox, and then why don't you look at the Russian Orthodox? And, they had their little magic, smartphones that dinged it right away. And then I told them all the ways to connect them and look at the Hebrew translation of the old Torah, and they did, and they saw that what I was saying was right on. It wasn't in their King James Bible, but it was in all these really old texts that came, that their King James came from. And then I had them go to different scholars to talk about the translation of the King James, and they were all like rabbis and Orthodox Christians, and who they didn't even hear of because they were scholars rather than businessmen. And they were like, and it was like I dropped the mic and walked into the warmth, So they were like, and so now those guys, one guy calls me rabbi, and the other calls me sensei, and that's what they should, both those words, all it means is teacher. See, that's why I love this place. It has things like that for everybody. It is the, Taj Mahal of libraries. It even has a restaurant and coffee shop. And they let you eat in the library. It's like, yeah. Let's see. Hey there, buddy. Okay, I'm back. John Birmingham called and jumped in to interrupt our little chat, and he will probably be coming back on to talk about his shoes or whatever. But let's see what you're saying here. Let's see. Another spaceship Earth, yep. We were taken from Genesis, original species, yep. Let's see. And millions of years ago. And, why NASA? I mean, look, 60 years ago, we went to the moon. And we can't build a ship like the Saturn V anymore. What are you talking about? We should, have anti-gravity, which we already do. And the powers that shouldn't be have total control of our everything, right? And that's why they control the secret space program, which was started, in the 1890s, using Tesla technology. That's why our planet is basically broke, because they've taken all the liquidity and stuck it outside of where the population is. That's why we have gone into a politics of tribalism, because we're running out of stuff. But we have free energy, we have transportation, instantaneous, and manufacturing of whatever, meaning what Star Trek was in 1968 is what they had in 1968. And that's what that TV show was supposed to, snap people into the understanding of that. Hey kids, this is where it's at. You, on the other hand, are expendable, useless eaters, and you better get wise with the program. Yep, we're back. We're back. We're back. What is Bigfoot? Bigfoot is a dimensional character. He's like the dimensional comedian, right? And that, again, our media is so amazing. There's a commercial. I don't watch TV except when I go to places that have TV, and then I kind of double down on it. And I saw last night this great commercial where this guy is camping out, right? And he hears Bigfoot chomping around, and he gets really freaked out, and Bigfoot jumps out in front of him and goes boo, and he freaks out. But his alter ego offers Bigfoot some, jerky made by this company, and they're both sitting around the fire eating the jerky and patting each other on the back. And then the sun's rising, and they're jogging through the woods, and Bigfoot is in front just in front, so he's like pushing all the branches, and so this guy is seeing nature in a way that he's never seen nature before, Well, that's Bigfoot right there. You know, a dimensional character. That's why no one's ever taken a picture of him. You know, boo boo boo. And there's John Boy. Yep, more than that. It's our whole solar system was totally. I mean, there's thousands of types of species all over our solar system. Not just the Greys, the reptiles, and the Nordics. There's probably 1,900 different types. I mean, the movie Men in Black. I love the scene where they're central is like a bus terminal. And that's what it is. Earth is like a little bus terminal. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, John, I'm up for going to LA. It's going to be ridiculously cold there. Woo-wee. And a lot of people are going to need our help because what's happening to California is that basically, you know, California is the seventh largest economy in the world. And these fires were manufactured. They were brought on. I mean, just look at those pictures. The house is incinerated. I mean, gone. And nothing can do that. And those drones, when they go up a ways, you see that there are trees and front lawns that didn't get burned, but the houses got turned to dust. Only way that can happen is with a energy-based, space-based weapon. And they are, thinning out the herd, right? And they want people out of California. And and they want to destroy the economy. All of the Silicon Valley billionaires, those guys are getting a bit too much. Elon Musk, all of those guys, they want to get rid of them. And unless you're a mindless tool of the powers that shouldn't be, like Mr. Facebook, that guy, I mean, he can't even tie his shoelaces. Why do you think he wears a hoodie? He couldn't tie a tie. He's not a corporate guy. Not like Mr. Gates. Anyway, so California, I have friends there, and so a good deal of the super advanced technology was developed in California, and there's an industrial base there that is unbelievably toxic, but they kind of buried it, put it in places, but now these fires are burning that unbelievably toxic material, and there is right near San Francisco, there is a military site where, you know, they built all the test reactors. There were about 150 buried test reactors, and about 50 of them had critical breakdowns, that were really nasty. But they just, covered them up and went on. And all of the waste was buried there. But now that the drought has happened, it's sucking all that stuff into what's left of the water table, and it's burning in these fires. This campfire fire was burned up everything that was in all of these toxic places, and it's now been, atomized, and the poor people of San Francisco, I have lots of friends there who are breathing this, and they're calling me saying, "What's wrong? I'm feeling," and I've been telling them to get out for the last 2 years, and they're going, "But I see you always get another job, but you can't get a new pair of lungs." And I'm sad to say that anyone who's there, especially kids, start praying. The only thing that's going to help those folks is prayer. But if John and I go there, and if we can get, the thing I want to do with John is I want to get him, he's a channel, and he's scared to channel, because every time he goes into Jimmy or any of those characters, he is channeling a higher sense of reality, right? And why people either freak out about it or go, "Wow, this is kind of cool." Why you guys keep saying, "You guys should get together. You've got this great chemistry." Yeah, because I can get John. I kept saying, "Hey, this guy over here, he is the canary in the coal mine. Be aware," because at first you guys were just getting upset with his interrupting. But that's part of what our culture is, interruption. The powers that shouldn't be don't want you to wake up. And John's kind of waking up. So if John and I can do, YouTubes where he will allow me, to be the executive producer. He can be a producer and director and whatever else he wants to be. And he can be the star because he is the star. I'll tell my stories here on this live chat because you guys interact. You make the live chat what it is. And if John and I can do this, and it would be more or less what I want to do. I had this dream about John doing a TV show called Dad and the Boys. When John and his boys would have a rock and roll band and travel through the world singing songs that would uplift the spirit, right? And it would be more or less, we would put it on YouTube as a reality show, like, Housewives of New Jersey, but it would be Dad and the Boys. And if John can't get his ex to, be more provident with because these are his sons, not just her sons, his sons, their sons, right? And they are at a loss with not having their father. Now, John, I have to really hand it to John for going to Texas and spending almost 3 weeks. Normally, he couldn't spend more than a day there, but he'll spend almost 3 weeks there, So anyway, and so the boys, not only his sons, John and the boys are the spirits that John is channeling. And why John thinks John's not crazy. I'm a shrink. He doesn't, if I were to assess, I hate assessing people, but if you took the DMS to assess John, he doesn't assess as anything except John. Maybe annoying, but not, you can't peg anything on him. And he doesn't need to be on any drugs, but, because of what society is, he's been forced into a corner. And it's not, but John needs to step up. And if he lets me, which he has for why do you think I've been, still part of, John's life, is that I'm the only guy, his only friend, his true friend, who, no matter how many times he throws me on the bus, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay. I wish he didn't do it. I wish he could learn the things I learned from it, but he will, And he hasn't done it in a while, but I haven't been around for a while, as Freud said, if you do the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome, that's insanity. So for for at least a year, I tried and tried and tried. And then in May, I went out to the Deep Green, and I spent, from May until 3 weeks ago, out in the Deep Green. It was beautiful. And I would come back, like I did 2 weeks ago, for medical procedures, But in the first week that I was here, John and I, because John stopped doing caffeine, which is his doorway to really losing it, and he stopped doing caffeine. And so he was more John than anything else. And that's what enabled him to go to Texas and stay 3 weeks with his children, which they really needed. So anyway, and the deal, cats and pharaohs, yeah. Cats are creatures. They're gateway creatures. I mean, look at, you go to the Valley of the Kings, and there are all these sphinx there, and they're mostly cat-ish type creatures, and they are the gateway to the land of the dead, Oh, yes. Little chit chat. Johnny boy, I am upward because it's going to be one heck of a winter here. It is, woo. I mean, just, it's still fall and it's winter now. You won't, I mean, I took pictures of the ice storm so you could see what it looked like. And when, and I'm sure they will have the electricity back on by tomorrow. Okay. Yep. And it's pushed the weather of the Midwest into you know the northeast coast. From North Carolina up to Maine. I mean, D.C. had a snowstorm all the way up through Philly, New York, up to Maine, where they had, I don't know, I haven't been able to really look, but at least 5 to 6 inches. The worst thing about the California fires is what it's doing to the air, and the people are breathing that air. And it's beyond just smoke. It's carrying, all of these metals and toxins from the aerospace industry that just dumped them out there, and all of the buried radiological materials. It's all going up in that smoke. And that smoke isn't just staying in California. It's going up to 80, 70, 80 to 200,000 feet and going around the planet. You know, I'm an actor's actor. I can be anything. I played Puck in Midsummer's Night Dream, and I played King Lear, and I played lots of things. Yep. Yeah, it takes a supercomputer to kind of deconstruct Johnny John Boy's whatever that is. You know. Uh-oh, powers that be, the librarian. Ha 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 ha. Okay, whatever that is. Like I said, yes, John. Right now is a great time. You've proven to your boys that you're committed to them, that you love them. Now it's the time to just, okay, I did my best, and let them go. Let your ex do whatever she's going to do, and just call them 2 or 3 times a month and tell them that you love them, Don't try to get back with your ex, because that's just a play. And we go to California and we become movie stars, right? That's what you want. Let's do it. I know I can do it. I know you can do it. You won't be able to do it unless you let it go and put all of that sexual energy into being, why am I Sensei Al Bob? I take all my sexual energy and put it into being the Sensei Owl Bob. And I gave you guys the definition of what that was. I said, yes, John, I'm up for it. Like I said, it's going to be ridiculously cold here. So I'm up for it. I mean, we have to have a full understanding. You can't throw me out under the bus when we're in the middle of a snowstorm in Montana. We really have to be like the Three Musketeers, right? All for one and one for all. Okay? We can do that, then we can go to LA. Yep. Well, Marshall, if caffeine has made you jittery, just imagine what that does to John Birmingham and Jimmy and Johnny John Boy and Grandpa Jimmy and all those other personalities. Gang, mental illness is a scam. Now, yes, there are people who have issues, but basically, the people who have the real illness are the ones who are judging the people who are just living who they are. You know? Yeah, if you're not eating right, if you're not sleeping, and again, if you can meditate, you can get whatever nourishment you need and sleep you need. It's when you let your mind race like a squirrel on methamphetamines in your head. And you don't need to take drugs to go into that space. When people hear voices, all it is that they're, dopamine inhibitors have kind of gone offline and they are hearing that space between themselves and the next dimension, right? By their ear. Well, the basic diet is everything fresh, fruit and vegetables. No fast food, no caffeine, except maybe some in the morning, but nothing past, and no more than 1 cup. No espresso for you, John. Just a little bit to wake up. And after that, nothing more, right? And lots of water, and lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. And we just buy little bits and eat it that day. We don't, you know, stuff the car with food. Um, you know, there's always good to have a little backup, a few canned things. Like in my car, I always have 2 or 3 gallons of distilled water, and maybe 10 or 12 cans of vegetables that have the pop top. And, that right there could get me through 3 weeks of living. Yes, you know, everything affects people differently. Some people, a little caffeine's not bad. Some people, it's like methamphetamines. Again, expecting, doing the same thing, expecting the same outcome. Eh. So, John, I'm ready to go to LA, but we have to have an understanding, right? No, that big screaming Jimmy in the library. All spiritual place is a place of tranquility and grace, humility, respect to love's co-creation, not one's ego. Boo. Tonight, maybe, I don't know, John. Coming back to the road strewn with trees at night, I'm not quite sure. No electricity, not quite sure. Yep, exactly. Caffeine is not good for John Birmingham. Yep. John being the Libra he is, his scales can be easily unbalanced. Big screaming, big screaming Jimmy. John, do you really want to be the big screaming Jimmy? Folks, look where our conversation is going from once Screaming Jimmy appeared. Again, the canary in the social coal mine. I mean, have you folks looked at Screaming Jimmy's YouTube? He looks just like Donald Trump. Yeah, come back Monday, you know. You get here daylight and then make it up the hill. I'll have the house all ready, make a nice pot of soup, and we'll start you off with a really nice meal. You drink a lot of water, you'll be balanced, and we can make our plans to leave. And I would say, you might want to stick around for Christmas or Thanksgiving at least. Have Thanksgiving with your folks, and then maybe we leave by the 10th of December. We close the house down, we shut it up nice, and we can drive, right? And we go from there. And we'll make an agreement where everything will work out good, okay? So come back Monday, right? So why don't you go see your kids tomorrow, and really tell them how much you love them, and don't buy them stuff, just give them love energy, and tell, your ex, okay, hey, so I'm going to go. I'm not, we're not going to get, we can be together as parents for the boys, but I'm not expecting you to be my Siamese twin. whatever. Well, gang, we've been on 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 19 seconds. Why don't any of you who want to say a parting arrivederci say it, because they're going to kick us out of here soon. I love you all. John, my friend, come back Monday. Like I said, the house will be in good shape. I'll have a nice soup. And the electricity will definitely be back on by then. The house will be warm. Love you all. See you, Jamie. See you, Twiggy, Twitchy, Jamie. Stay well. So, tomorrow morning, I will try and, no, I won't. I'll be on 7 p.m. tomorrow, okay? So we'll be there. And in the morning on Monday, maybe I'll go online and we'll go back to that. So I'm going to shut on down. Let's see, 1 hour, 37 minutes, 41 seconds. So 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 38 seconds. I will say goodbye and good night and have a beautiful day. And everyone, go practice meditation. Go practice getting to your Akashic records. Go meet your librarian. Go understand that connection of understanding. Okay, 1 hour, 38 minutes, 21 seconds. I love you all, and from the library, I say, au revoir. All things are as they should be. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 38. See you later, guys.